What's up guys, it's Criddle here from the AnimeBallZ team with another This Is. Now earlier this week we released Fairy Tail as a This Is, and that was leading up to this. Fairy Tail the movie, Phoenix Priestess. So in order to get things started on this one, it's time to go and get completely
off the tracks.
So the movie kicks off introducing us to Eclair, who is the main character of this movie. She is at a ceremony with these two halves of a stone that there's some sort of ceremony going on, and then a bunch of magic dudes show up, kill everyone except for Eclair and the village chief, who is mortally wounded. He manages to, teleport her out of the town, say, go, run, get out of here. He dies, she heads off on her way. From here we jump across to essentially the strongest team in Fairy Tail, being Natsu, Lucy, Grey, Urza and Wendy, who are all hot on the trails of a villain by the name of Geese, who is, just this thug in a town that they go to try and catch, and he somehow manages to get away because he is essentially a paper man and he can make himself as thin as paper, slips through a crack and manages to escape from the team. Fast forward, eventually Eclair and the Fairy Tail Guild meet up, find out that, there's this ceremony, and if the Phoenix is revived, which these two stones are the Phoenix stones, and what was trying to happen was someone was trying to seal them away. That's what the ceremony was all about, trying to seal them so no one could ever activate them again. Someone is trying to get both those pieces together so they can resurrect the Phoenix and thereby use that power to live forever. This is where we are introduced to Diced, essentially the main antagonist and the most badass of the antagonists for the movie. There's Cream as well, but he's sort of a secondary character. But Diced is the big bad for the most part in this movie. Massive spoilers for this, but that's beside the point. Movies are always going to get a bit spoiled. Anyway, it's a lot of to and fro. The Phoenix is eventually revived and it ends up as Natsu versus Diced, as it always ends up with these sorts of things where you have your main character versus your other character. Eclair starts out hating mages, her and Lucy begin to bond and all sorts of stuff. Oh, you've suffered loss as well and blah blah blah. And eventually they become friends and whatnot. Yeah, this movie is an interesting one. It was actually done by Hiro Mashima, same way as Oda's done the last couple of One Piece movies. So it does fit in a lot better, and we get some really cool action sequences between a few of the characters. We get Grey and Juvia versus one person, Kajil versus another, and Natsu versus another. Very, very cool. It's nice to see some really good fights come out of this movie. Even if it is a very short sort of fight scene for most of the characters, it's still cool to see. Anyway, enough of me ruining the plot. It's time to look at the only two characters worth mentioning out of this, because we already mentioned all the characters in the last Fairy Tail thing that we did, hence why we did the This Is Fairy Tail in the same week. It all fits in very well together as we look at
The good, the bad, and the dubbers.
So Eclair is voiced by Jessica Calvello, who is also the voice of Excel from Excel Saga, Nanail from Queen's Blade, and Honey Kisaragi from New Cutie Honey. Sorry, I have to read off my notes for this. And Diced, who is the only other character worth mentioning, is voiced by Taliesin Jaffe, whose name I probably have butchered, and who doesn't have any real notable roles that he's really known for. So, Diced has a major part in this movie, so Taliesin Jaffe, yeah, you're moving up in the world into roles people will actually recognise you for. So the Fairy Tail movie is a movie, obviously, but it is an anime movie, and anime movies tend to essentially contain themselves in their own universe. This movie does this very well. It explains things very well, and a reason why we won't see the characters again after this movie. It makes sense. It all fits in why everyone's not going to come back and just show up in the series at random. But it is a movie, and I'm not a fan of movies as a general rule, but this movie made me happy. Now, I gave Fairy Tail an 8, but I am going to have to give this movie a 7. It's a movie thing. I would have liked better fights and stuff like that with the other cast members, but you can't have everything you like the way you like it. I would have liked longer fights with everyone except for Natsu. Natsu's fight was probably the right amount of length. And the others, I would have preferred longer fights and a bit more variation in the attacks and stuff used. They were still good fights, but I would have liked more of it. Anyway, this is Fairy Tail the movie, Phoenix Priestess, for another This Is for AnimeBallZ. I'm Criddle, and I will catch you on the flip side.